You
Are
don't
we
blow
going
your
to do
cool
anything
guns.
for our 100th episode?
I'll be honest, I've been trying to come up with something.
Maybe
But-
that's where we do the maybe that's where we do the multi-world.
Maybe.
Or
We'll
do
have
you want
to
to do
see.
another 16 games on for 100?
Who gets the honor of that? Because that's a sort of a group milestone.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out. I'm right now actually trying at work to get switched to 410s, and if I get that, Thursday would be my day off, which would be nice for the podcast.
My volume okay?
Why? Because we can go later, or
Just that I won't be worried about being so on time.
being so on time. What do you mean?
Like, you know, 'cause I've got to get back to sleep, so it's like, okay, we're done. I can sort of just afford to just let things go as long. Hey, Combine.
Got it.
Thank you, Lizzie Petrichor.
Whoever you are,
Whoever you are.
strange woman that we don't know. Probably just some
I'm not
witch in a
disowning her.
bog.
What are you talking about?
No, you were playing it off like be natural. Acting natural.
Acting natural. Oh, animal. Is that?
Hey, Pass Patch.
I was not expecting the sound to come from the Watch Together link.
Oh, right, because
Yeah, it's been doing that. It's not been keeping
could
it
do-
muted.
Oh, you could also put Portal in.
Oh, yeah, I can see the portal. Yeah.
anyway. Oh, why are the closed captions on? How do I turn them off? Nope. There it is. I thought. Nope. Live quality, playback speed. Native controls? What is that? Nope.
Okay, that's it.
That was not what I wanted.
Open the video player controls. Use the platform's native player features.
Yeah, I clicked it and I don't. Oh, there it is. It's in the upper right. There we are.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, so you can actually make it default. Nice.
All right. I'm going to give Kami's a quick poke, but I don't think he'll be joining us. We'll find out. All right. Baggins, what'd you eat for breakfast?
I don't remember.
Okay, Lunasar, did you eat anything for breakfast?
Not really. I don't really eat breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
He didn't
volume
ask me
seems
to
good.
eat anything, so.
Hey. All right. Let's get started. Here we go. There are some years that pass by like weeks and some weeks that pass by like years, and this past week has been an absolute year. It has been amazing seeing Sony just commit unforced errors and Xbox having to deal with the consequences of its drunken spending spree over the past 10. And we're going to be discussing here at episode 93 of I Think We Overleveled. I don't even know where to begin. This has been nuts.
Yeah. The first thing I learned the most important thing I think I learned this week is that the Domino social media guy is a fan of physical media.
Apparently.
Yes. Absolutely. And he deserves a raise.
Watching Domino. First of all, I want it understood.
Repeatedly.
I am all for corporate on corporate combat when it comes to social media.
Oh,
and
absolutely. It's the best.
The Arby's guy needs to get in on it too.
Yeah.
Wendy's needs to come in.
It's one of those things that I want to return to Genesis does what Nintendo don't, but just everyone. I just want it. And no, Domino's has been absolutely just click farming.
Repeatedly dunking on Sony.
It's been wonderful.
And anyway, yeah, it's also why I'm very proud of my thumbnail today. And
I love there was one of them. We've sold 125 million pizzas since Sony last posted.
Yeah, Sony can't avoid the noid.
No, but anyway, so this is the thing that's interesting, and maybe kind of where I want to start. It's while both companies, this has been a bad week for consoles, but it feels to me like PlayStation's mistakes are mistakes in the future, whereas Xbox is paying for mistakes it's made over the past decade. And the chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree.
The email that the CEO for Xbox put out and what she said is the type of plain speak in emails I am not used to from C-suite executives.
Give some context for that. Talk about it.
So,
talk about what she said. And
the one that blew me away, that it just sounds to me like an absolute hellscape, is 14 layers of management at some of these companies.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a full 14 layers. There's a lot of parallel stuff. But even if you only had 2 reports underneath you, that's 2 to the 14th power.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I've only worked for enormous Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, right?
Yeah.
And even in mine, I can't think of a single organization that went over 7, maybe 8.
Well, not only that
is crazy.
Not only that, I work on a creative team in a corporate space, and anytime we go beyond 2, maybe 3 layers, it just goes to crap.
Well, and
when you start designing things by committee, it loses all heart, all soul, all anything.
Well, and that's a big deal. Like, mine's technical stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can get 8 layers of people to agree on a technical thing. Trying to get 8 layers of people to agree on a creative thing?
Well,
because make that 14 layers?
Yeah, well, because let's be real here, because it's not 14 people stacked on top of each other. It's more likely there's 6 or 7 layers of management, but there's a lot of people who have veto power spread out wide.
Laterally.
Yeah. And but the thing is, think about it. You're trying to make a creative decision, and you're like, oh, quick, we need to run this by marketing. We need to run this by branding. We need to run this by our sensitivity team. We need to run this by our art team. We need to run this by our inclusivity team. We need to run this by, and it's just our legal team. We need to run this by, and you just
they even hire outside consultants to do that as well.
Well, and then sometimes you've got to deal with an outside company, and they have to give you sign off on stuff that includes their brand.
Well, and it suddenly makes sense. I forget the name of the channel. There's a guy who basically his entire channel is complaining about modern Fallout because of how much he loves classic Fallout. And one of the things he talks about is Bethesda's output and how, like, the first 3 Fallout games came out, all of them within like a 10-year span. And then in the 20 years thereafter, they've come out with like 2 from Bethesda.
Yeah, no, I mean, Elder Scrolls is the same story as well. Yeah.
And you start, I'm willing to bet when she's talking about the 14 layers of management, Bethesda was the one with the with that.
Yeah.
But I sit there and I hear that, and it's like, these games are taking forever. You hear 14 layers of management. Well, yeah, these games are taking longer.
And, this goes back to that whole indie versus, the AAA development cycles and everything. With the smaller teams, you're more agile, period.
You can actually capitalize on trends. Like, how many of these small indie teams are jumping on the friend slop games? And these big teams just can't.
And think about it. In these companies, and I even saw a video where a Microsoft game, some management person was talking about how basically her entire day is meetings. And I know, like, my managers, their entire day is just meeting after meeting after meeting. And the good managers are the ones who say, yeah, I go to the meetings so my team doesn't have to. Like, It's like, I want you guys to only have an hour and a half of meetings a week, and I deal with all the other meetings so you don't have to. Like, that's what a good manager's job is. But, like, in these small indie companies, the leads aren't bogged down in all these meetings all day.
No, they're coding.
No, they're coding too. It's like they just have a small meeting. They might meet with the producer or something, but usually it's just a small team where there's like, just a couple of leads, maybe one person over that. They're not in meetings all day. So, like, in these big companies, some of the veteran people that really know their stuff, if they're in a large company, they're in meetings all day long. And they're doing nothing, and it's just up to their underlings to get everything done. They're not contributing anymore.
Well, it's a side of the Peter principle that people don't talk about, because it's not only putting people into the area they're not best at, it's taking people out of the area they are excellent at.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and then on top of it, it's you're not just like, because the people who are in these meetings are either people who are your best contributors who are now not on the front lines, or you've created so much insulation that you have what amounts to professional useless people that are just bogging down people who should just be working. And so most meetings are pointless.
Well, that, and let's be honest, I just me observing the company I work at for the past 6 years, I kind of feel like there's an incentive for contributors to gain that attitude more, because, like, there's a lot of times where it's like, well, if I work my butt off, I'm not going to there's no incentive for it, right? They're like, oh, my bonus might be 4,000 instead of 3,800. And, like, I'm going to work an extra, 500 hours over the course of the year for an extra $200. No, thank you. You know what I mean? The incentive structure is all completely wrong for people to really work and give their best output.
Have either of you ever watched Office Space?
Yes.
I've seen clips, but I've never watched it from
the meeting with the Bobs is literally what he's like. The point is, Office Space is supposed to be a parody, but in the meeting he's talking about, and it is like, I'd say in any given week I do 15 minutes of solid work. And they're like, what? And it's like, it's all bogged down by meetings, these TPS reports. And it's like, it's not that I'm lazy. I just don't care. If we ship out a few extra units what do I see? I don't get anything for that. And it's like, I have 8 bosses, Bob. And it's like, 8? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, so if I ever make a mistake, I've got 8 different people telling me what I did wrong. So that's my main motivation, just not getting hassled. And that only gets you to work hard enough to not get fired.
It's true. It's 100% true. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like my work ethic has deteriorated from working at a super large company because of it. But that's what the incentive is. People behave the way they're incentivized. And honestly, in this company, in a lot of these big companies, your primary incentive is just you need to not stick out enough that your head's on the chopping block, but also not kill yourself doing something that you get no reward for.
Yeah, and Microsoft is just that. Like, that's been that to a T. Now, what's interesting is, for the longest time, Xbox has been able to skirt under, I refer to as the Eye of Sauron at Microsoft, because they were just a rounding error in the Microsoft budget. They were so small. But then they went on the spending spree. In the past 10 years, they've spent $85 billion acquiring other companies. Now, 70 of that billion is Activision Blizzard King. So
yeah,
a lot of it is one purchase, but it's not like Bethesda was cheap. And one of the things that actually, like, I was just like, wow, okay, this is actually, maybe you have some level of awareness. Now, she was the AI CEO, so I'm not getting my hopes too far up, but where she said not all game companies like are the right size for Xbox, and we shouldn't try and assume everyone's everything works here.
I don't want to be rude, but I do feel like I need to get in at least one I told you so, because I remember when the Activision Blizzard purchase by Microsoft, you were saying, I think even on this podcast, this is a great thing. And
I didn't say, no, you did not. You did not. Oh, you're overstating what I said. What I said was it could be good. It could be, because the Blizzard has not been good, and so maybe having the Eye of Sauron on them will be good. And I'll be honest, I don't see any of everything that's a problem here. I don't see how Activision Blizzard is any worse than it was when Microsoft acquired them. They seem exactly the same to me.
They actually seem just a tiny bit better.
Okay.
It's like it's not necessarily this is going to save Blizzard, and neither of us thought anything was going to save Blizzard. But it was just like, if there's a chance, this might be it.
It was one of those, it can't hurt.
Yes.
But I was a little more hopeful for. I actually kind of liked Microsoft's strategy with Game Pass. Like, it didn't interest me personally, but I thought it was at least an interesting approach to be like, we're gonna get a bunch of these tiny little companies here that's going to make the overall offering of Game Pass to be really good. The reality is, these companies didn't put out really anything worth doing, and frankly, it seems like they kind of coasted on the gravy train a little bit.
Oh yeah,
well, and
yes.
the other thing.
Go Baggins.
Okay. The other thing is that I blanked. Oh no, part of it was because Microsoft said, we're going to bring you in and we're going to just let you do your thing. They did start trying to get their meat hooks into aspects of it, because there were some publishers that got out after that, and there's like, okay, fine, just because they didn't want to be beholden to Microsoft anymore, and they're like, okay, so like Moon Studios, they actually bought back their rights to certain products and just said, okay, we're out, we're done, we're
if
doing
they
this
played
on
their
our
cards
own.
right, it seems like they could have gotten money to leave. Like double
Yeah.
But it's just it's just, for them it was just a matter of we want to get out of this corporate aspect of it and just sort of go.
Yeah. Well, with the Game Pass model, the whole thing is we're trying to you're trying to space out your new releases so that there's always something good, which means certain games get rushed, certain games get delayed. Psychonauts 2 got the benefit of that because Microsoft's like, hey, we're seeing you're trying to do it here. Could you delay it a couple months? And they were going to be struggling to hit that deadline. They're like, oh, darn. Okay, I guess we can delay it a couple months. So they're like, holy crap, we have a couple more months. Whereas Redfall, a game that was notoriously buggy on launch, Microsoft kind of forced Arcane to kick it out the door. Because it's like, guys, we need it for this time. Go, go, go.
So I kind of feel like in a case where an independent studio is purchased by a big company, there's two ways that they can really start to die, right? The first is too much corporate meddling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they get their meat hooks in them and they tell them what to do and they start changing their creative ideas. They too much meddling.
It destroys the creative integrity of it.
It destroys the creative integrity. And I think that's one that's pretty well understood, but I think a lot of this one shows the other method that is often overlooked and forgotten about. And that is when a large corporation actually leaves them alone too long and just lets them to their own devices and lets them ride the gravy train. And because they feel confident that that paycheck is coming, they're not worried about money because, oh, we're owned by Microsoft. They have all the money in the world. That the indie company loses that urgency of having the deadline of they're running out of money.
Only hungry dogs hunt.
Only hungry dogs hunt. And so they can get lazy. So it's like, it's either, executive meddling killing a studio, but some studios, they need to be hungry. And if they're not hungry, they're lazy and they produce nothing. And a lot of these companies that they're getting rid of are ones that just produced absolutely nothing because they had that gravy train. So it's weird. Those are like complete opposites of each other.
I've talked about Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2. I love Double Fine's work, but you see what they've produced since becoming part of Microsoft, and it's like, it kind of feels like, it feels like they were safe. And they didn't feel a need to get things done. And I mean, that feels like a horrible thing to say about an entire studio, but just looking from the outside, I do think you're right, because what part of being a corporation?
I think Tim Schafer needs that. We're going to run out of money if we don't have something good to sell.
It does seem to be like his best work has been when he's under the most absolute insane pressure, which I hate to say, which for his heart, I don't like saying, but it does seem to be a trend. But
some people need desperation.
Well, but it's also
lazy if they're comfortable. I think I'm one of those people, in all honesty.
It's a feature of ADHD.
Yeah,
but it's also a lot of gamers and developers are likely in that camp.
Well, one of the other things, because we're talking sort of about corporate structure and the problem of line go up and and needing infinite growth. One of the other problems with the corporate structure, corporations are designed by their very nature to spread out risk so that it's not all one person taking all the risk. That's why you incorporate.
It's also with the blame too.
Yes, and that's the exact. You anticipate exactly where I was going with
it. What I didn't
the
hear what
blame.
You said. Oh yeah,
and so you'll notice there's not a lot of this was my fault. This is our fault. This is the thing we did. And now part of it is she just barely got there, and so the people whose fault it is, a lot of them have left, but the board of Microsoft that let it get like this, they'll be fine.
Oh yeah, they're not going anywhere.
But yeah, it's been insane. Just watching. I was not expecting Microsoft to give numbers. Like she said, they lost 64 cents for every dollar they invested.
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh, that is insane.
Now it's not every dollar made.
To be fair, what she could also be doing is, this is what happened under the last guy.
Yes.
And suddenly she set expectations incredibly low so that she can exceed them.
Hey, it's a smart move, but the other thing is, it's not like anything she said is wrong. Like, people keep bringing up the FAFO algorithm, where the more you F around, the more you find out. And one of the things that people pointed out that I kind of laughed at, it was a comment I read in, some YouTube thing. It's like, the longer the distance goes between effing around and finding out, the harder the finding out becomes. And Microsoft has been delaying the finding out phase of this for a very, very long time.
The entire gaming industry has.
Yeah. But in terms of the consolidation, buying up studios and stuff, Microsoft is definitely the guiltiest party in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because they spent, I think, 10x what Sony has in terms of acquisitions.
And that is, and they've been losing the last 2 cycles.
Yeah.
Yikes.
One, that tells you how deep Microsoft pockets go. The other thing, and this is then going to push us back towards Sony in a second. This is the other problem of a giant corporation, is the giant corporation's needs can sometimes be at odds with the other parts of the business. For example, Microsoft has gone all in on AI and pushing AI data centers and being part of the things that's shoving RAM prices and everything, prices higher and higher and higher. Well, Xbox does best when components are cheap and they can sell Xboxes on the cheap.
Yeah, true.
And because that's how you get people into your ecosystem. When ecosystems are expensive, it's hard to get people in. And so suddenly the greater needs of Microsoft are at odds with Xbox itself. And
that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, the reason I thought about it is because Baggins and I had a conversation the other day talking about Sony. And Sony has had an unbelievable run of brand synergy for the past couple decades. Sony owns music. Sony owns movie studios. And Sony owns video games. All these things needed CDs to be printed. Sony owned the CD format for a very long time. Sony created...
And the Blu-ray.
Yes,
and
Sony
Blu-ray.
pushed the Blu-ray. What's one of the big reasons people bought PS2s? It was a
DVD player.
It was a cheap
That's
DVD
why I bought
player.
mine.
Why did people buy
bought
PS3s?
For a Blu-ray player.
Exactly. And so suddenly they have all this stuff pointing to the same problem. Suddenly, digital starts going higher, and Sony no longer has the advantage of all this synergy. And so it leads to what looks to from the C-suite. And there are some reports. I think it was Jason Schreier. It could have been someone else reporting that his sources say Sony has been blindsided by how vociferous the just everyone is against this announcement. But
clearly they were expecting the pushback, but I
there
guess
was going to be some. You make any announcement at all of any kind that you're going to change something, it's going to get some pushback. But they apparently have been
so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, they are blindsided. Well, so this is the thing. I think from the C-suite side of things, it makes so much sense. Let's take their numbers at face value. That 80% of their game sales are digital. Well,
speaking of it, it's a heck of a move, ditching 20% of your sales.
Yes,
dropping 15 to 20% of your sales, just leaving that much. That some people are like, oh, that's penny. Like, no, that 20% is a huge amount of revenue to just.
It's a very huge. Now it very well could be that. Just trying to steelman it from the C-suite perspective, that they look at, hey, we're developing the PS6. If we're not having to develop 2 different systems, that's going to give us a huge amount of savings. It's going to eat into that 20%. And
they can repurpose the factories. They could stop, there is a lot of cost. I mean, granted, making discs is dirt cheap compared to what cartridges were. I mean, that
Yes.
was part of Sony's.
That's why one of the big reasons they switched to discs.
Yeah, I mean, well, discs just had so many. They were cheap to produce. They held so much more in a cartridge. Like,
Well, it's like I remember in college going and buying a stack of like, what was it, 50 recordable CDs for like $10.
oh yeah. I mean, it cost them pennies. Like when people talk about, so the manufacturing cost of CDs are already ridiculously low.
Let's like Steelman in the argument.
They still gotta have a factory. They still gotta employ people. Like, it still has a cost, even if it's low.
And then on top of it, with component prices going up and up and up, you say to yourself, man, we already sell the PlayStation at a loss. And so for the PlayStation 6, which we're already selling at a loss, we got to sell a certain amount to even make this worth an investment at all. Well, so you start stripping out things that you don't think you need. Well, you look at 80% of your sales. I can see how someone in the C-suite who isn't a gamer, who looks at gaming as a black box of investments, and this makes so much sense for us. But this is the problem with their 80% number. Like, let's say, which I don't believe the 80% number.
I mean, yeah, well, there is that. I want to get to that, but just kind of Steelman them. They're saying like, oh, here's our, since we started doing digital games with the PS3, here has been our trend. And from them, they're seeing that trend go towards, oh, it's going to go to 100%, guaranteed. It's clearly going to go to 100%. Like,
well, especially if you'd stop making it. But here's the thing. The 20%, let's say their number is correct, that 80% of their sales are digital. That doesn't mean 80% of their players are digital only.
Exactly. Yes, that's the thing. Honestly, I'd say 80% of their players are probably hybrid.
And actually, something people have brought up, and I don't know if we have the exact numbers to really back it up, because there's a question of that 80% of sales, are you including your PSN Plus subscription downloads? Because that's kind of dishonest if you do. So number one, we don't know the answer to that. Number two, and this is another thing, is, okay, if you include DLC and live service games, but if you look at just single-player games that don't have DLC or have, maybe just a little bit of cosmetic DLC, like games like Persona 5, for example, if you ask what was the breakdown of Persona 5, I highly doubt that was 80% digital sales for Persona 5. Highly doubt that. And some people are so like, I saw a claim, but there was no data to back it up, that they think of single player games like Persona 5 that it's like 60% physical and 40% digital.
Well, and it's not only that.
That's believable, but I don't know what the actual number is.
Well, and is it 80% of new games or just 80% of all purchases? Because, there are people buying PS3, PS4, PS5, PS1 games on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, I mean,
and you know what? That's just because I want to play it, and it's an old game that I really, really like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, the very few digital purchases I have made on PSN were, like, oh, I want to be able to play this PS1 game that I love on the PS3, and that carried forward to the, the PSP, the Vita, and even on the PS4, and even on the PS5. Like, I love how something I bought on the PS3 was still playable on the PS5 for playing like a PS1 game.
But
like
the thing is, the other thing is, if for example, I might go in and buy a PS1 game on the PlayStation Network that I already own a physical copy of. I just want to be able to play it on my new machine.
Oh yeah, and most of those I owned a physical copy of already as
well.
But
a new game comes out, I'm going to buy a physical copy.
100%.
That's why I have a PS5. If I want a physical copy of a game, I buy it for my PS5. If I want a PS5 game, I buy a physical copy. That's just how I have run with it. And so if they take it away, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm done.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing. When we bought those old PS1 games, we bought them for what? $5, $6? Some of them 10? Somewhere between 5 and 10.
I'm talking about, full price games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, I will never buy a full price digital game. To me, that is insanity.
That's not true. You buy full price games on Steam.
very rarely do I buy a game that's not on
No,
sale.
but I'm making a point though. It's not that digital full price is a deal breaker, but it's that if there's a day one purchase you want the physical copy if you can get it.
Yes, well, but like, okay, the only games, okay, maybe there's one game I can think of that I bought full price on Steam, and you know what that is?
Of course not.
Factorio, because it never goes on sale and never will. I mean, that's his stated policy for Factorio.
Right, but that's going to be Sony's policy
game.
too.
It's like a $20-$30 game.
Doesn't need to go on sale.
It's not a full price AAA price range.
Well, the other, but this is more. There's a lot of people who will pay full price for a digital only game. I've done it several times. Like for example, the Switch is the best example for me because it's the last console I've ever bought, and I have a mix of physical and digital games, and really the difference between, like, if I wanted the physical, it's because I thought the game was going to be something that I wanted to put on display, that I own this game, and so it's on my shelf, and which is one part I do think they minimize because they're not gamers is branding. Having those physical displays gives your console an identity, and it's one of those hidden. It's one of those hidden values that's impossible to put on a spreadsheet, but it matters.
Oh, it definitely matters because, like, and this is actually something I 6 years ago I recorded it. I never posted it, but I actually recorded and I edited it, a whole 20-minute discussion about physical versus digital, and I kind of discussed because I do have a decent sized Steam library, largely thanks to getting Humble Bundles where I got like 10 games for like
$10. Early Steam sales that were like 90% off. Like, I bought way too much stuff on sale, right? There are times I don't even know what's in my Steam library. Like, I have no clue what's there. I have actually bought physical copies of games that I had just forgotten I had a Steam key for. I had no idea, and I ended up buying a physical copy on PlayStation. And the thing is my PlayStation library, I know exactly what's in my library because it's all on the shelf. It's like when I want to go figure out what game I want to play next, I go to my shelf. I look through the cases. And I don't do that on Steam very often. I forget what I have. I often don't even care what I have on my Steam library just because. And the thing is, and this is the part that really I think is Sony's really bad, is Steam is far easier to browse your library than PSN is. Like, it's gotten better with PS4 and PS5, but like the PS3, like the PSP was utterly, completely atrocious at looking at your digital library. When you're scanning through your purchases of what games you own, you can only see 3 things at a time. So it's like, oh, what do I own? What purchases have I made? And thanks to PSN Plus, where you just get a bunch of stuff registered even though you didn't think about buying it, you just, they just give you a bunch every month, right? And I'm going through that list, and it's like, I'm like, oh, I guess I got this on PSN Plus. I didn't even remember. And it's like, but it takes me like half an hour to get to the bottom of that list because it's like, oh, there's like the 3 things I actually picked out and purchased myself that weren't just PSN stuff, but because I could only fit 3 on the screen, and it takes forever to load on the PSP. Like, utterly atrocious. Like I said, they have been improving it, but like, it is so easy to lose track of your digital purchases and your digital library. But none of that problem exists at all when you have a nice shelf to see things. And it's just so satisfying to look at that shelf. I absolutely love looking at my game shelf and looking over it. It is like, it means something. Like you said, the branding recognition, just like how they decide to even do the cases and like, oh, how are the spines done? Like, do they want to be uniform in color? Do they want to have a same style or pattern? Can you see some of the art from the game? Like, it all matters. It's a big deal. Scott the Waz actually put out a post just of him making a face at that, and we know how he is about lining up his collections and all that
he's
stuff.
made many videos about just how the spines look. Like,
Okay, I'm hearing watch together through someone's mic. So someone needs to mute watch together.
Someone started it, and I couldn't let go of Alt to turn the volume down.
You could have stopped talking.
Well, I was getting there.
No, but one of the things that is
also, before we go on, hi Mithril.
Oh, Mithril came in.
Hello.
I didn't notice.
Just
sneaky ninja.
Just dropping in, waiting for
a gap in the conversation.
Yeah. Well, but talking about the physical part of it, that is just, to me, I've heard the argument. I don't think it's a bad argument, like on the face of it, which is, well, you don't have any issue with buying stuff on Steam. Why do you have issue buying it on Sony? To which my response is, that's kind of my point, is if I want a digital only experience, I go to Steam. Why would I go to your digital storefront over Steam when Steam is better service, better return policy, better organization of my games, it has my social stuff way better integrated, and it's the issue with MMOs. It's like, why would I go play this different MMO when I have years of WoW? Or years of Final Fantasy 14.
Also on Steam, free online play. Games are significantly cheaper. Sales are better. Services, you already mentioned the service is better, but there's just so many things that Steam does better digitally that PlayStation does not.
I've noticed a pattern in my behavior that I wasn't conscious, but it's become this way. Because I used to be all about, I used to think, hey, buying digital, sure, let's do that. I did it with PlayStation. I did it with Xbox. I did it with Nintendo Switch. And I have found myself that stops being the case. Each time it's happened, it's because I have lost trust in the company I'm buying from. It happened with Microsoft. It happened with Sony, and it happened with Nintendo. And each time it happened, I just stopped buying digitally from them.
Well, yeah,
Steam still has my trust.
Yeah,
for now, that could go away, but right now, Steam has my trust, and so that's why I'm still willing to buy digitally from them.
Well, and that's a really good point, because the first time I in 2003 opened a Steam account and registered a Valve CD key for Half-Life to my Steam account, it's still there. Mm-hmm. I can still download it. Purchases that I made for WiiWare in 2010, they're gone. They are completely gone.
And the timing of Sony doing this is just mind-boggling, because it was within like a week or two of another email that they sent out saying, hey, these movies, our license agreement on them is over, and so they're being removed from your account.
No, it's even worse. The same week, they even said, oh, we're going to shut down the PS3 and Vita store.
Yes.
Same week. Same week, we're removing, all within, maybe span of 2 weeks.
But just the fact that they're saying we're going all digital, and by the way, if you go digital, you don't get to keep your stuff anymore. In the same breath as almost.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, and this is one of those.
Acting like, why are you upset about this?
Well, and this is the whole, at a giant corporation, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm willing to bet the people who are dealing with the music stuff have nothing to do, or the movie stuff have nothing to do with the people who are doing the game stuff. And Looney and I had this conversation where we were kind of laughing about it, because this is PlayStation, the same company that was able to mog Xbox with the whole, this is how you share a game, and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. And he's like, why haven't they learned those lessons? I'm like, Looney, that was 20 years ago. The people who learned those lessons have retired. We only remember it because we were in the trenches.
Well, and the thing is for me, when I think about it, it's discs are the entire reason for Sony's success. It's like the PS1 was successful because a CD could hold so much more data than a cartridge. And PS2, the fact that it was a DVD player and had used DVD discs and could play movies as well as games made it absolutely crush that generation. PS4, the fact that they had discs that they decided not to detach the license from, they were able to absolutely crush, the Xbox One announcement and just dogpile on them, and that has got them through the PS4 and the PS5. Every single one of their big successes was thanks to properly leveraging discs.
Yeah. Well, especially because PlayStation and Xbox in particular, if you ask me what a Nintendo game is, I can kind of tell you what it is. I can't tell you what an Xbox or a PlayStation game is anymore because they kind of blend together. They've all gotten they're mostly third-party successes on it. Although Sony's had some successes with the first parties that have done very well, but I can't tell you what it is. Nintendo kind of gets away with it because even if I don't like what Nintendo's doing, or I can at least say no one does what Nintendo does nowadays. And so they can kind of get away with it because of that reason. I don't like it, but it's
tells
true.
me that they do get away
does
with
what
it.
everyone else don't.
Yeah. What, Mithril?
It kills me that they do get away with it though, because they've been they were in the market for decades now of just reselling everyone their games back to them and then cutting off access eventually when the console online dies. And now it's just like they're fully eschewing that for just fully the subscription model. And it's true. Like I said, it kills me that they're able to do this, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's weird because the value proposition is honestly not bad based on like for how much it is a year, like 60, 70 bucks, whatever, is not bad even compared to like most other like services, streaming services, whatnot. It's like $5 a month.
I mean, for what I'm paying for Nintendo Switch, it's only $20 a year.
Yeah, for the whole family, I'm only paying $35 for the year.
Yeah, if you want the expansion pass, which comes with like the GameCube games and the GBA games and whatnot, then it's 60 or 70. But and so it's, I don't know, it's part of the whole everything going into a subscription, live service, whatever, instead of just personal ownership. But
well, it's all of the tech industry wants everything as a service. Like I'm nauseous how often I hear the phrase "as a service" at work.
And the fact that they have so many games that used to be available and now just aren't available, and they're very slowly trickling them out onto their new service. Every time it's frustrating, but I also get that, for cost, it's not bad, but at what point do you say for cost it's not bad, like not bad value, but it's still worse than just owning a couple games that you want?
Well, and this is the big benefit they've had. Like, this is the part that I just find hilarious about this past week. The meme is Steam does nothing and wins. Steam did something and lost. The Steam Machine rollout was a disaster. It went horrible. And Nintendo has put out a couple of announcements.
And yet it already sold out. So
yeah.
Like the pre-order's already sold out.
But in Nintendo, they just announced like, oh, here's our next big patch for Super Mario Kart World or whatever it was called. I can't remember now. And everyone's like, this could have been an email. Like there was no new maps, no new characters. And it's just like everyone's kind of dogging on it. But because of the colossal failure of Xbox and PlayStation this past week, everyone's forgotten about all the other stuff.
Well, that and like the Steam one, people are like, "Yeah, we get it. It sucks. You guys aren't happy with the price point either." I kind of feel like we understand it a little bit more because we've all, especially, you know, the PC crowd has dealt with that issue themselves, you know?
Well, and the other thing is the Steam machine has no exclusivity of anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to use a Steam machine. You can still play Steam without it.
It's weird because in many ways it was designed to be like a console player's entry point into PC gaming.
At
But because
enthusiast
of
prices.
various circumstances, the prices are now PC price, well, still lower than PC prices for like high end, but like
For the amount of power it has, it's not a good cost.
Yeah.
But it's also not an
know?
insane cost.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know something that's kind of cool that Atari has done? They did it about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Have y'all heard about the Atari 2600 Plus?
No.
I think I heard about it once in passing and then didn't pay much attention.
It's a modern console that came out in November of 2023 that plays Atari 2600 and 7200 games.
Is it the one that has like the wood grain? Because I know like they.
It looks like the classic one. They also have one that looks like a Pac-Man model, but it's $130 console that will play the old cartridges, and it's like a modern connections.
Okay, because I remember they announced one back in, oh goodness, a long time ago. Oh shoot, hold on.
Oh yeah, it was like the 2010s.
There. Yeah, like the 2010s, because I was still working at the company that was supplying that.
Are you talking about the digital one?
I think it might.
Because that might be the one that has like 200 games just installed.
Well, I'm not even sure if that one came. Well, I think the one they announced didn't. I think it didn't come out, and they eventually made a different. I think it eventually morphed into the one that you're talking about. But
well, so there's two different
earlier.
ones, because there's one that works similarly to the SNES Classic and stuff like that, where it's a console that has digital games bundled onto it. This is actually a console, looks like an old Atari 2600. It has a cartridge slot that accepts the 2600 and 7200, the 50 or the 7800. The 5200, unfortunately, the cartridge is a different size, so it doesn't fit. But it's just like, this is kind of neat. They're just like, no, we want to give you something because we know Atari is all about this nostalgia, and so we're going to give you something like that. It's just a kind of cool take. And these bigger companies, yes, they're bigger, and so they're going like that. That's the thing. Atari is hungry for that goodwill again. And so they're coming out with stuff that will please their customers. These bigger companies, they're not hungry for the goodwill of their customers. They're hungry for the goodwill of investors.
Yep.
Yes.
And the investors, it's one of those things that we've gone through. It's like, why don't they know what their business is? And the answer is no, they don't, because the business is too big. It's too big to succeed. Like we already talked about with they have competing interests. There's now ends of the company who what's in the best interest of one end is in the opposite interest for the other. You can't succeed like that.
Microsoft a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Well, and when you think about it,
sorry, yes, Mithril?
No, sorry, I was just going to say Microsoft is what IBM was when Microsoft started, an acquisitions company.
Yeah. Well, and you know, to talk about the whole different aspects and arms of the business being at odds with each other, like back in the day when Disney was like when everyone loved Disney, but you know, everyone hates Disney now, but back when people loved it, like Walt would talk about how every aspect of the company had to synergize with the other. Like he would draw these big old maps, see like here's how the parks and the movies and you know the TV and everything reinforces each other. Like he went way out of his way. And yeah, you're right, especially with Microsoft. There's none of that at all. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Well, and one of the other things that is just interesting about the deletion of In both instances, really. But they are so separated from the customer that, one, they say consumer all the time, which is a pet peeve of mine. Because it makes you sound like you're, come on, pay piggy, come on, do it. But the bigger thing is they keep trying to systematize their profits instead of just put out a good product, and the system will fix itself.
Because that's what investors demand.
Yeah. But again,
Reliable profit.
But it just, with the physical thing, I just can't get over, we're going to go to digital. And it's just like, then I have no use for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure. There are some people that are okay with. I mean, I have seen people make the argument, to me, saying like, "Well, we buy it for the simplicity and ease." That's one argument I've heard, which to me makes sense, especially back in the 64 PS1 days, where you put in the game, you turn it on, it immediately plays.
Yep.
I feel like that advantage has dropped over time. For example, ever since like the PlayStation 3 and the 360, consoles have become far more complicated to get working. Like they have to install, they have to update. Like there's so many times where like I put in a brand new game, and yet it still takes like 3 hours before I can play the darn thing.
The Wii's channel system when it first came out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so it's like,
and the fact that they
consoles
doubled
have gotten
down
more
on the Wii U.
complicated. Consoles have gotten more complicated, but at the same time, PC, particularly Steam, has gotten far easier.
Well,
I mean, look at the Steam Deck. Look at the fact that my kids are largely becoming PC gamers first and foremost. Well, okay, Nintendo and PC, right? And they have never used Windows, and yet they're totally comfortable gaming on a PC. I even have little kids, right? Like, let me put that in perspective. My kids only play PC games on Linux. That is how easy Steam has made it.
Well, and back
consoles have only gotten more complicated.
Back to the point of being at odds with one another. I hated basically every single PlayStation menu, PlayStation 3 and on. And part of it is, one of the big selling points for the PlayStation and the Xbox is that they're not just a gaming system. They're a multimedia system. Which means even though I only use it for gaming, I end up having to navigate through menus and such just to get to my game. Whereas with Steam, I load up Steam, it's only for my games. Now you can be like, oh, but your PC is a multimedia thing. It's like, yes, but Steam, the product, has one purpose and one purpose only, and so everything's towards that purpose, whereas they have to do everything on Xbox and Sony. And so once again, the fact you're trying to do everything is a negative.
Well, actually, you can watch movies and music on Steam, but they actually make it's easier to play games than the other things. Like some people don't even know you can do the other things on Steam.
I didn't. You're blowing my mind here.
Oh yeah.
The comment that I saw that just actually made me see red when it was somebody arguing for this whole digital thing was, well, then what are you going to buy? And I was just like,
what?
I'm like, it's like if you can only buy it digitally, then what else, what are you going to buy? And it's just like, I'm not going to, because somebody said I'm out. They said, if they go this way, then I'm out of, like, I'm just not doing it. It's like, well, if you don't buy Sony, then what are you going to buy? And I was just like, nothing. I'm going to buy nothing. I'm done.
It's like, I have a backlog of physical games. Like, here's my shelf. I love my shelf. I'll keep adding to my shelf as long as they'll let me. But there's a point where this shelf is sufficient. And part of the argument I've been making, people are like, oh, you're saying you're going to go to PC, but PC has the same problems. It's like, but you don't understand. The only reason why I'm on PlayStation and not the PC right now is because I wanted a physical copy.
Yeah, they're throwing away one of their best advantages.
Differentiation.
But But the other thing is, they're like, what are you going to buy? I could buy nothing. And if, something happens and all of my physical media decays, it's a luxury. I can walk away.
Nah, you can't do that. It's not allowed.
Well, that, and when it comes to you and me, where we've been making digital backups on our own private Plex servers and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we can walk away. It's like we don't have to buy them.
But again, I'm saying even if I didn't have any other option, movies and video games are what, 50 years old?
40 for most of them.
At the top. Yeah, but I'm
Depending
saying
on when
like
you count the start, yeah.
Yes. People survived without them. It's a luxury.
I mean, heck, we still read books.
Obviously, I don't want to walk away. I enjoy playing video games. But they're like, once they start trying to bully me into using their thing, I'm done. I don't need them.
Well, and it's just because I keep coming back to Steam did this. Steam, you use the term, bullied us into getting Steam so that you could play the Orange Box or Half-Life 2 or whatever. The thing was, you're allowed to do that move once, essentially.
And you can do an opportunity to prove yourself.
Yeah, and Steam proved itself to me. They delivered. Mm-hmm. And
like I said, I trust Steam right now. They have my trust. Well, again, that could go away, but right now, I haven't been given a reason to mistrust them.
Well, and most importantly,
PC doesn't have generations. Like I said, that code, that CD key that I got from a physical copy of Half-Life 1, that CD key, I put it into Steam back in 2003, and I can still download that game today.
Especially with things like DOSBox and the like, where they're actually making it, because that's another Steam thing that Steam is doing. They're making it so these games that run on older software or older structures are still playable.
Well, they're making games designed for Windows today playable on Linux the same day. It's amazing.
Well, and then on top of it,
we're not even locked into Windows thanks to Steam. Like Steam, they said you can play it on whatever hardware you want, on whatever operating system you want.
It's frankly just ridiculous to think about the fact that we've been doing digital purchases on consoles, and it doesn't move to the next console. Yep. When Steam has been active the entire time. Like I said, PlayStation was the only one that did it somewhat, because old PS1 and PS2 games, they did let you, they did carry forward onto you bought a PS1 game on the PS3, you could play it on the PSP, you could play it on the Vita. Some of them made it to PS4, and very few have made it to PS5. They've done okay with that, but not great. But Steam, of course, blows all of that out of the water. But yeah, Nintendo, none of that. Mm-hmm. I do think the Switch 2 is the first time that they actually are doing that, backwards compatibility. At least on the digital side.
Xbox was worse than Sony, but I do think they put in some effort to making more backwards. But the point still stands. It's why is it that something I bought digitally on an older console, why did it not carry forward to the newer?
Well, it's just
that's a very good point.
At a certain point, it's also just why are you making this look so difficult? Mm-hmm. It feels like it should be simpler.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, now that you mention it, the way digital siloing per console is that's actually making things more complicated. People say, I play on console because it's simpler than PC. How at this point? If everything goes
on the setup side, it's simpler.
I guess.
Yes and no.
Except for the fact that I could still play, the fact that it depends on which console I bought it.
Yeah, but
That's not simpler. That's really complicated.
but you're thinking like I'm thinking in terms of like my dad, for example. There is no chance he would ever game that much on a PC because it would take too much for him to figure out how to do it. Whereas he's used to how consoles work. And so
Do you think he'd play on a Steam Deck or a Steam machine?
I think a Steam machine he might. There's no he would have no interest in at this point in a what's the word, portable. God, couldn't think of the word.
Handhelds.
Yeah, and that's just that's just the quirk of he's older, his vision isn't as good. He needs to be able to hold it far away for him to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
the Steam Deck dock doesn't work as well as it should. Honestly.
Yeah, but my Steam Link has been kind of awesome. So
Steam Link I do like the Steam Link.
I love my Steam Link.
But more to the point, it just goes to the fact that we're used to gaming on the PC, and so I think we tend to minimize a little bit the fact that most of these consoles do a fairly good job most of the time with making it so that it's very accessible to get into a game for someone who is very unversed in it. But they're lower. They're constantly lowering the threshold, and every time you make a change, you're giving another chance for them to say, I might put in effort. Best example, I now have a Steam machine. My computer, my backup computer. I figured out how to use Linux and install it and messed around with it until I could get it to work. I was very anti-Linux because I had had very bad experiences with Linux in my college years, and so I didn't want to touch it. But Microsoft finally moved the needle far enough where I'm like, you know what? I'm giving Linux another shot.
Yeah,
I mean, that's another case where one company moved the needle too far one way, while the other company's working on moving the needle the other way.
You were going to say, Mithril?
No, I was just going to say it's similar on that, where it's like, I think a lot of people that come to consoles because it's just easy and set up, whereas a PC, they don't necessarily know where to start. Like if they had a PC already, it would be fine. If they don't have one, then it's like, well, where do I start? Mm-hmm. But if the situation gets bad enough for consoles, then enough people who are interested in video games and all this stuff are likely to go to PC in a very similar way to Windows and Linux, where it's like, I've been evangelized Linux by so many people. I'm just like, okay, whenever it's time for me to get a new computer and upgrade this rig or whatnot, I'm probably going to find at least whatever the easiest boot effective version Linux is, because I don't necessarily want all of the bells and whistles yet. I don't want to jump into that all, but I want something that's not. But I want something that's not going to serve me ads all the time and fill my computer with bloatware.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean,
what could you possibly be talking about?
I mean, I don't know. I hadn't had them for a while, but Discord has given me like 10 different quests today alone, and it's just
gosh.
Every time I boot it up on my phone, it's another ad that I'm getting on Discord, and I'm just like, did you just bank all these up over the last 3 months and just give them to me now?
Is that what all the Discord updates are? Advertisement stuff? Probably.
Basically.
Not all of them. Sometimes it's A/B testing different UI layouts and changes that you can't opt out of, so you're just being randomly chosen to get an upgrade or downgrade before other people.
It could be better.
I will say of the people that I've random strangers I've discussed this online in comments. There was one person who actually had a decent argument of why he would still stick with PlayStation. And that was, he's like, well, for me, the big issue is I like to play online competitive games, and PC has more cheating in it than I like to deal with. And that's less of an issue on PlayStation. So you'd still keep
if there's no cross-play.
And I'm like, you know what? That's a fair point. If you only want to be playing with people that have the same console, I'm kind of over playing with strangers online anyway. Like, I have no desire to play with a stranger online. I'm just over those types of games. Either I'm going to play with my friends online or I'm going to play single-player games. So, but I see your point. And yes, cheating can be a problem. That's, the reason why I stopped playing TF2, for Pete's sake. All the bots. But, that one I'm like, okay, that's a good argument. I understand your point. You're also disappointed, but you're going to stick with PlayStation for that one reason, and I understand it.
It's defensible.
Mm-hmm. Everyone has reasons for what they do, and some reasons are more defensible than others, but, as long as you can give a reason and explain it and express it, you're already ahead of 90% of the crowd.
Yeah, and that one is one where both people can, I see your point, and it's not even a case of agree to disagree. It's like, oh, I see where you're coming from. My decision's different for this reason. And, that's probably the most amicable of the conversations I've had on this, right? Because, some other, they give such bad faith arguments, right? One was like, oh, games are gotten so big that they can't even fit on a Blu-ray anymore. And I'm like, BDXL Blu-ray discs hold 128 gigabytes. That's plenty. And not to mention, it's not that hard to just have a second disc. And as I point out, the PS5's built-in hard drive was only 825 gigabytes. I'm like, the hard drive on the thing could only fit six Blu-ray drives, BDXL drives anyway. So it's like, I'm sorry, that the argument about game file size doesn't hold water at all.
Well, but that also...
people trying to come up with arguments, but they come up with a bad faith argument that they haven't even researched,
Yeah.
Well, but that also actually gets to one of the other things that it's affecting both of them, but from different angles. They want us, the customer, to pay for their bad decisions. They have bloated these. Microsoft has laid off over 9,000 people. It's over 9,000, but in the past a year or whatever, and it's one of these things. You're like, why did you let it get this bad? How much money has PlayStation wasted chasing live service after live service? And that money just was straight into the toilet.
A lot.
At what point do the CEOs, have they been so blinded by the big numbers of AI that they see $400 million on Concord and say, oh, that's a drop in the bucket?
Yeah, I wish I could blame AI for this. I literally wish I could, but it
predates it.
Yeah, it goes before it. They saw what happened with Fortnite, and they said, holy crap, we need our Fortnite. We need our Roblox. And it's like, there's only so much oxygen in the room for something like that. And it's just trend chasing, and they bloated teams full of people who, it's like, okay, yeah, this person may have worked on this game, but that's a one-time thing. It was a different marketplace when they launched it. I'm sorry. I saw what Concord looked like. You can't tell me it took 7 years to make that game. There's no way.
Unless you were in meetings all day, every day for who knows.
Yeah, it's just, I'm sorry. It wasn't that complicated. There's so many times they release stuff, and I just look at the indie scene, and it just becomes the Tony Stark built this in a cave with scraps.
It's Overwatch, but uglier, and it's TF2, but uglier. It's like, TF2 is like a 20-year-old game at this point. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I fail to see, I understand some of the extra time bloat in various things, but I fail to see how we've gone from having like 1 year dev cycles on totally brand new engines and games and putting them out and they become legendary in like the 90s versus now it takes 7 to 10 years to create a game that is fully DOA and no one cares about.
That
Well, it's
was
because they're
used on
focusing-
an engine that was ready-made and had an entire company that would do whatever you wanted if you were a big developer. Like the Unreal Engine, Epic Games would go out of your way to do whatever you needed if you were a big company. So it's like you have all the tools. You don't have to develop that, and yet it takes them so
I have
much longer.
the perfect example of this, and it's one of PlayStation's best-selling games. How long did it take for them to make Spider-Man in 2018? Do you guys know the answer to this?
No
2
idea.
years?
It took 4 years to make it, which that's already
4 years.
fairly
Okay.
long. But that game, the controls are butter. They are so much
Oh,
fun to
yeah.
play. It hurt me. The only reason I haven't finished it, and Baggins is gonna poke me for this, but I started developing repeated stress injuries because I was just swinging around and not. It hurt my hands because I was having so much fun with it. Okay, how long did it take to make?
It felt good to play.
Oh yeah, and you could fast travel in that game, but why would I?
Mm-hmm.
That was like the one achievement I never got was to fast travel 3 times until I realized, oh, that's an achievement. Oh, let me purposely get it right now. Boy, this is so boring.
So here's the next one. How long did it take Spider-Man 2, which should be shorter, right? You have the engine already. The engine's perfect. It took them 5 years to make Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 or the Miles Morales one?
Spider-Man 2.
I didn't even play Spider-Man 2. I didn't want to. And I loved Spider-Man 1.
Here's now I'm going to blow your mind even further. According to the research I have done before the stream, Spider-Man, the budget for that first one was 90 million with some estimates at around 100. Spider-Man 2, the budget was 315 million.
Oh my gosh, and they came up with a product that fans of the first game didn't even want to buy or play. Oh,
No, it sold great. No, it sold great. The second one, it was lower than the
It
original.
did sell very, very, very well.
It sold, but I'm sorry.
There's a sizable number of people like me that didn't even
But
want to play it.
even with 5 years of inflation, like let's say it doubled in cost, that would still only be $200 million. It should have cost. It should cost less. You're on the
Yes.
same engine. Like it should.
Exactly.
You had the perfect setup to be released. Like I just want to go back.
Is it the
Uncharted.
same engine?
It should be. Why
I
wouldn't
mean, it
it
was
be?
a different system, so
But why wouldn't you just like it should not be it's overcomplicating it. And this is something this is a completely different topic as to why we shouldn't trust Sony, the number of hacks they've had, but in one of the Sony hacks, we got access to a lot of the execs and what they said. And they were discussing Spider-Man 2, and they were kind of talking about how the budget had bloated, and they're like, I mean, I do think the game looks slightly better. Does it look twice as much as it took to make better? I
That
can't
is
tell you.
always the question.
I can't tell you what the difference between the games are graphically. They look the same to me.
That's funny. It actually reminds me of a conversation I think we had once. If you remember Hobo Dane.
Mm-hmm.
It was one time that we were talking about Guild Wars.
For the record, that was his
right?
gamer name. It wasn't some random vagrant that he was having gaming discussions on the street.
Yes. I'm actually surprised we. Well, I don't know. I could see him. I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know if he'd want to join one of these. Anyway, we were talking about Guild Wars, and I can't remember who it was, but I feel like one of you guys was like, World of Warcraft's way better, and we both just turned and looked and said, with how much money you have spent on it, I sure hope so. That was, it's like, look, we paid $40 for it once, and we've been playing it for years at this point. Like, you know, we got the return on our money, and it's that exact same question. Like, okay, it's better, but is it the amount of money you paid for it better? You know,
Well, and that's why they want the live service games, so that you're paying for it over and over and over again.
Yeah, but
well, the thing is, in theory, I like the idea of a living game that changes as you play it. But they just don't deliver on that promise anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But more to the point of, like, going back to the Spider-Man example, that's within this past 10 years. Within 10 years, they've had this issue. It's gotten that bad. And
yeah,
they're sitting here, oh, we're going to remove physical, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and it's going to solve our problems. It's not. It won't solve your problems because you still haven't properly identified what your problems are. Xbox is starting to get at some of their problems where they're realizing, you know, we might have gotten a little bloated. And it's, you think?
There's another element to this massive time between releases thing. And I was reading an interview with, I think it was Sakaguchi. I forget if it was him or if it was someone else.
Remind me who he is.
Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest.
Sakaguchi was the Final Fantasy inventor.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
I forget if it was either him or someone else about either Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. And they were talking about how games take so long for a new entry in a series to come out that you're not really getting new people, like new kids and teenagers, interested in game series anymore the way that you used to. Like, you used to have, like, okay, Final Fantasy, a new one would come out every couple years or so, let's say, and you would, through your whole growing up period, have like 6 or 7 different games that would come out as you grew older. Nowadays, you get 1, maybe 2 games through your entire teenage years, and that's it. And that's not necessarily enough to drive most people to become fans of a franchise. It's enough, maybe if they really like a game, they'll go back into the backlog of the series. But
I've brought this up.
Point, it's
now,
like,
I brought this up before.
You got to be careful though, because there is definitely a balance. Because you could also end up saturating the market, with, like has been done with Star Wars and Marvel and Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. Like, and that's the thing, because there's
yearly release. Yeah,
getting a dedicated yearly release every year, especially in the modern day, feels very. This could have been a patch most of the time. Like, why are we bothering releasing a whole new game?
Because they want you to spend money.
When you are stretching out your development so it takes 7 to 10 years, there's no way that anything you're producing from the outset, the end point, the market's going to be so entirely different from when you started creating it that there's no way to really even get a great idea of what your player base and market's going to be like. And while I agree that there's not necessarily a great thing if you're just pushing out a release to push out a release every year, I even have problems with the way Pokemon has scheduled its releases sometimes. It's something where if you're not regularly releasing something at some sort of reasonable rate, people are just going to forget about you entirely.
Well, and to that point, what you're talking about, I've brought this up before, and every time I bring it up, it just doesn't sound like it can be true. The entire Uncharted trilogy was on one console.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although they did come out with a few on the next console as well.
Yeah, they did. But the original trilogy was one console. It gave that console identity. It had a perfect selling point as a result. Look at how much healthier as that Uncharted is as a series than, say, Metroid, where if you want to play, oh my goodness, Kingdom Hearts. But like, you just
Kingdom Hearts.
it's just one of those things that they're not coming out quick enough to form any attachment. You can't respond to trends. And on top of it all, what are you doing with your time? You're like, the point of a business, I hate to point this out, it is to release a product at some point. You got to do something.
But again, when their money is coming from investors rather than customers.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
I mean, there are exceptions, because I think of like the Persona trilogy, right? And by trilogy, I mean 3, 4, and 5. PS2.
I was going to ask.
Well, I guess 2 of them were on the PS2, and then it jumped the PS3, and Persona 5, it jumped the PS3 and went to PS4. Well, I guess it also had a PS3 version as well, but like there was a pretty big gaps between.
But those games also aren't connected in any way.
Granted, that game's more.
I lost you for a second.
I mean, that's not 100% true, but it's 90% true.
Yeah, but it's just I don't need. I played Persona 5. The fact I don't know. Yeah, the fact I don't know what happened to the other games didn't affect it at all. It's like Final Fantasy. There are themes to it.
There's like a.
Am I cutting in and out? Is that me?
You don't recognize some of the other characters.
No, you're not cutting in and out. Looney is.
Okay, cool. Sorry, Looney.
Discord in general, but I don't know.
Is that better?
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll
see.
see. Discord or if it's just my.
Could be the mic. I don't know. But to the point is, if you wanted to, like
the mic plug specifically.
Yeah, but the Spider-Man example, they did Spider-Man, they did the Miles Morales DLC, and then they did Spider-Man 2. And it, between the development for all 3 of those came over 9 years, and the Miles Morales DLC isn't really that good of a stopgap, in my opinion.
It's actually a separate game. It's not a DLC, but the fact
it's a glorified DLC
is a pretty scathing indictment. That's a pretty scathing indictment. Wow.
Yeah,
but it was an intentional one, I suspect.
Yeah, but my point is, they didn't release it quite quickly enough to really keep the through line. It's a problem with a lot of these Netflix series is they have a season 1, wait to see how successful it is, and then decide, okay, we'll have a season 2. Well, by that point, you've lost. People have already moved on to other projects. You don't have the same team.
Or, and sometimes they do this, and it kills me even further. They release something and then don't even wait to see if it is successful or not before they just cancel pull all funding, cancel all plans, release it, and then just kind of just kill it off then and there.
Yeah, it's all over the place. I guess that's kind of at the end, one of the biggest things is there's no consistency. They're running from trend to trend to trend. And now I will say Sony has shown some admirable stick to itness where they wouldn't comment at all, then tried to put a thing out about a controller and then got excoriated again, and Domino's just started dunking again.
Oh yeah, I've participated in the dunking of everything they've posted since.
Why not? Look, it's free XP. Farm them.
Oh yeah, well it's free XP. But it's also the whole it's the whole look. I want to show them that this path they will lose money. Like there's money on the table that you already know how to get, and you're going to leave it behind. And I want investors to know that too. It's like, sure, they'll still make money without me, but they will be losing a pretty good chunk of
they're not just giving up they're not just giving up profit though. They're giving up goodwill. They're spending that very, very frivolously.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing is the fact that don't value that.
just have more intrinsic value than digital games. You know, you have that transferable license. You have that, you know, nice little cover art. Back in the day, you know, you'd get an instruction manual. Even fairly recently, like a lot of like Atlas games would have like a soundtrack with it, or nice goodie like a small art book. Like so many pack-in goodies that you just don't get with digital. You know, it's and the thing is, a lot of people are like, oh well, if you don't have to manufacture things, will games get cheap? No, games will not get cheaper. Guaranteed.
That was the hope.
Already that they're raising the price. You know, Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, that's the thing. Grand Theft Auto's digital only. Like, even if you get a case, it's still just a CD key in the case, you know? Games will get more expensive, and it's a guarantee that they'll get more expensive because they don't have to compete with physical copies or second-hand retail used copies.
And that's one of the reasons that, you know, people keep saying, well, Steam does this already. Why are you not, you know, why are you okay with that? Well, part of it is because PlayStation, like you said, PlayStation will have monopoly on when you're PC gaming. You actually do have other options. You've got good old games. You've got actually the Epic Store. There are people who
technically have the Epic Store. You have proprietary launchers.
Yeah. And so there are other alternatives.
Well, and the other thing that it just comes down to is I don't like it. I'm the customer. I don't have to justify my purchasing habits to fit into some sort of corporate model.
Mm-hmm.
They have to earn my money, not the other way around.
And if they decide not to earn my money, that's their prerogative, but it's also my prerogative to walk away. And so for me, you know, if the market has changed so much that I'm no longer part of it, so be it.
But yeah. I don't think that's the thing is like, I don't think it has.
I owe them nothing. There's no. If they don't give me a reason to buy their product, there's nothing forcing me to buy it.
Well, and one of the other small things that these things matter is when you look at the overall landscape and you say to yourself, where am I going to spend my money? I'm not going to spend it where I don't feel valued, where I don't get value. And that's the biggest thing is,
yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of giving me value. Steam has given me value. And that's why I sit there and I'm like, nah, Steam, I get these sales all the time. That's the other thing is they want to control their own marketplace because when they control their marketplace, they set the price and it's fine. Steam is third party. It's the modern day GameStop. And one of the biggest trends, and Valve talked about at the end of last year, players are starting to pay less for games. They're waiting for sales. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the real reason they're pissed off with Steam is Steam's existence is a level of competition that they don't want to compete with, which is, again, why it's really stupid to drop physical because you just lost one of your biggest competitive advantages.
That's its. I mean, in my opinion, okay, I guess someone did point out the whole, you know, cheat on online games, but for me, that's like their biggest advantage. You know, their main primary advantage, and they're giving it up. Man, I've been seeing so many like bad faith arguments, right? Because, you know, one place where I brought up the whole like, oh, you can lend it to a friend, you can sell it, you know, it's a transferable license, and that means a lot. And they're like, oh, so you don't want to support the developers. You might as well just be pirating if you're buying used. You know, it's like...
I'm sorry, where's all this simping for corporations?
You know, it's like, you poor boy. I know, it's like, I'm like, geez. And to that one, I just replied, I'm like, oh, let me guess. You're against buying used cars. You only buy brand new cars to support the car makers. It's like, I'm like, really? You're just gonna say like secondhand markets, used markets are a bad thing, an evil thing, and to simp for the corporations? Because how are they gonna make money? The poor corporations. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Now, I will say I understand on some level, and gosh, I just saw the time. But I understand some, because if you want people in your ecosystem, because it's the whole thing of, why are people desperately trying to protect something like Marathon that's just not doing well? It's because once the spiral starts, people stop playing it because it's a dead game, which makes it a lower quality, because you're not going to get as good matchmaking, which is going to make the game worse, which is going to just start the death loop. And so I get on some level, because I saw what happened with like the Wii U when people weren't playing it. It led to its death spiral. And so on some level, if you know you're going to get it, I at least understand the mental gymnastics they might go to on some level protect their investment, for lack of a better term. But I don't know. I don't get.
PS6 isn't even out yet.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It starts early. They haven't even announced it.
Already. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like I get that.
We don't have a lot of time left. There's one more thing I wanted to bring up real quick before we ended. Sorry to cut you off, but there's the fact that Sony hasn't really addressed anything. And today, Jason Schreier came out and said basically he's heard that they have like publicly said, we're not going to address anything. The C-suite's been completely blindsided. And part of it is, I don't see what choice they have, because they've apparently already closed a couple of their CD making plants and stuff like that. And I think it's too late.
Is that confirmed, or is that a speculative?
It looked to I this part I haven't done as much research on, but it looked to me like it was fairly confirmed that they have closed some. But I don't know how. I don't know what the extent is, but there's some amount that has been closed or retrofitted, or something like that. And so, if you've already done this, everyone has heard the rumors. It's time for another console, probably. Although I think if they were smart, they would delay it as much as possible. But I don't see what choice they have, because they've probably made some decisions they can't go back on. You can't just, if you're a year out from shipping. I mean, Lee, you're the architecture guy. How hard would it be to completely change your build to incorporate a drive?
If it hasn't been part of like the boards, which it would have to be part of the boards.
And
that's
the thing
like that would be a 2 to 3 year delay.
The thing that's funny that they're not even taking into account is that they actually have a backlog of disk drives for the PS5, to the point where you could only get one per order. Like they have a hard limit. So,
really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Now, when I read that, I'm not positive if that means consoles that are the disk drive version, or if that's like an external drive that you can attach to.
Gotcha. Well, and the thing is, even if they wanted to, the fact that they clearly knew this was unpopular, because the other thing that's coming out right now is the fact that their third party and second party and even some of their first party developers have been blindsided by this announcement. They haven't told anyone about this.
Wow.
But actually, you know what? I can think of a way that they could solve this problem very quickly and not have to do anything. Well, they'd have to do something, but I mean, a way to retrofit it with using the same boards is if they went with external disk drives, where it was a USB.
Wouldn't be as good.
Accessory that plugged in. It would not be as good, but that would be the only way they could do that easily.
Okay. Well, It's a problem.
That's very unlikely anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's one way they could do it without having to redesign everything and get new boards designed and tested, and like it's a big process to go through that as someone who's been going through board testing. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that it's clear they had no clue what was coming, which goes to being out of touch with your customer base and how deadly that is, and the brilliance of a decentralized system like Steam is you don't need to be in touch with your customer base because all you are is the market instead of trying to make it. And as I think about it, most of Valve's missteps have been when they've tried to make a market in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, the Steam machine twice now. But, all right. We're past 10. I've got to work in the morning. I could talk another 3 hours about this, I think. It's utterly
we didn't
fascinating.
even get to the Switch 2 digital cards. You know.
No, and so it's just one of those things. There's just I will say this. Okay, well, I want to end on a positive note.
I wouldn't hate it if they would leave their servers up forever, but they don't.
Yeah,
they're the fastest to close.
But I want to end on a positive. I think the bigger issue here is that the value proposition of a console has been going down and down. I think they're becoming more and more just a computer. 100%. I just want to end on what I think is a funny idea, because it's very small but somewhat already happening. The biggest advantage of a console is you can sell it for a loss because you're locking people into your ecosystem and you're going to make money on your other sales of some kind. What happens when people figure out how to buy a console at a loss and install SteamOS on it? You don't have to wonder. Some people have figured out how to get SteamOS on a PS5. It's a very specific model of the PS5, but people figured out how to do it. And so there is a way to get the best of both worlds, and these console makers have to be careful to not have people end around them on this.
Oh my goodness, they used to purposely allow people to do that on the PS3.
But now they can't afford to because it's too existential.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, back then Linux couldn't play games.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that I don't know. I just have this feeling that even with the RAM apocalypse, even with consoles trying to go all digital, I just think everything, these businesses are too big to succeed, and the indie revolution is going to force them to heal, and they will have to adapt or die.
And it's making a bunch of indie people thinking, how can I bring physical back to people? Like, it's creating a market opportunity. It's like,
yeah. Well, there's something to be said for the boutique experience. This is something Brandon Sanderson with his books has talked about, where he wants to sell leather bounds because there's a certain percentage of his fan base that wants a really nice leather bound. And it's a small percentage, but it's a big enough percentage, and you can sell it for enough that it matters. The people who buy the collector's editions and stuff like that, for the one game they really want the collector's edition, it doesn't exist anymore. They're losing value there. And who does that hurt? That hurts the third parties who were planning on making some money on selling collector's editions. And so
Persona 5 Royal, I got the edition that came with a Joker mask.
I got the
Joker mask.
Strangely, I just got the steel case because it was available. It was only a couple bucks more, and I was like, "Yeah, I want a steel case." And just that opportunity would disappear, and I don't know. I have a feeling that some of the third parties are going to raise enough of a stink that someone's going to capitalize on this.
not just the third parties, the other people who are raising a fuss is the retailers, the physical retailers.
Yeah,
Oh, I
well,
bet.
they hate the physical retailers to begin with, so they don't care about their complaints.
Hmm.
'Cause, I mean, they hate GameStop. They've hated GameStop. This is one area where I will criticize GameStop because GameStop was very aggressive with trying to resell games, and the companies are like, whoa, 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 like this is like we don't get any share of that. Why would we subsidize you? And GameStop in the early aughts and mid aughts was kind of just lifted both fingers and said, sucks to be you. And it's kind of what was the impetus for a lot of these companies to start trying to figure out how to do digital. If GameStop had found a way to cut them in on the profits, I think GameStop would be a lot healthier now.
I don't know, because, I mean, the argument GameStop always gave, and I thought it was valid, was the whole, well, people are trading in old games to buy a new one.
There's no way that is completely true. It's going to be, on some level, it'll be true. But if GameStop had found a way to cut them in on it, they would suddenly have more of an incentive to make keeping physical alive. And they should have recognized that threat to their business model.
As in, there's no... that they don't have to cut them in, but it's in their interest to cut them in just to have them be on your side more. Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
And so...
Because, I mean, if that were the case, they would... I mean, the push for digital wouldn't have been so strong in the first place.
Yeah. It definitely, like, it was coming no matter what, because one is you get some of the profit, the other is you get all the profit. But they should have at least tried to figure it out to extend their tail. But again, short-term thinking ends with long-term problems. And the longer the distance between effing around and finding out happens, the harder it hits.
Another interesting development also is the fact that I've heard there's a class action suit in the works against Sony for using the phrase "buy now" as their CTA in the digital store, because buying intrinsically implies permanent ownership. And even if they were to lose, I mean, to win, or like to not lose any money, not have to pay any restitution on that, if they're just forced to change the terminology they use in their store, what are they going to say? Lease now, temporary, own a license. It's
purchase your license to this game now.
Purchase your temporary license to this game now.
Yeah. That does make a difference.
All right, it's we gotta stop. I'm having too much fun with it though. Long story short,
I could keep going.
Yeah.
I could do this all day long.
Okay, Captain America. All right, let's wrap this up. Mithril, would you like to promote anything?
Sure. YouTube.com/MithrilZenith. I make videos going into game design stuff, mostly Fire Emblem, but occasional some other stuff. A couple weeks ago, I put out a video on the Impressions games City Builders, Caesar 3, Zeus and Poseidon, and Pharaoh. Just kind of retrospective, going through them, retrospective review, whatnot. But coming up is more videos on Fire Emblem 6. I've been putting together one where
Is 6 the Roy one?
Yes.
Okay.
Roy's game, where I'm putting together a video where it's a game that kind of has some divisiveness around it, and I like it, but I know that a lot of people in the community don't. So I literally asked my YouTube community. I put up posts on YouTube and Discord and asked people, give me all of your criticisms or all the criticisms you've heard about this game, valid or invalid, whether you think, and I will put out a video trying to answer all of them. And so that's the video I'm trying to put together. So stay tuned for that.
Nice.
All right, Bagginses.
Honestly, I've been reading this little known series. It's called The Wheel of Time. rereading.
Never heard of it. Yep.
Little
it's just-
little
it's-
indie
it's-
project.
It's just a short little
like
bit of light reading. No, I haven't read them since the last book came out 12, 13 years ago. And I just sort of suddenly got the urge. So I'm on book 7 now, and it's just, they're really good. They're so good.
Yeah, all I know is it's like I got to book 10, and then I needed to take a break because, oh my gosh, book 10 makes you.
Book 10
need
is
to
a
take break.
slog.
Oh, it's meanwhile the book.
Yes.
Oh, terrible. But then 11 finally came out like 10 years later. I pick it up. I'm like, I don't remember anything. I have to start over, and that's a big.
Well, Looney, what do you want to promote?
Well, I will first promote Lizzie. Lizzie's stream, Lizzie Petrichor on Twitch, where she does. Shiny
That's
Penny.
who came into our chat.
I know. I guess she thinks my avatar is attractive looking. But
Okay.
one thing I would like to promote that's on topic is Evercade. I think it's supposed to be coming out in October, or was that next year? No, I think it's this year, October. But the idea is it's a cartridge-based console system, and they got kind of an ecosystem of consoles. They got ones that plug into your TV, ones that are portable, and they got their own proprietary cartridge. But it plays a bunch of different retro games, and they're kind of capitalizing on this moment to say, hey, we still do physical, and any physical game you own, and it will play on any of our systems. Though as far as I could tell, their game library is just some retro games up to, I think, like the PS1 era is what I've noticed, looking at the library that they're going to launch with.
Huh.
It's topical.
That is topical. All right, and then you can find me twitch.tv/splicestream, where I'm hoping to play XCOM again this week. If I can't get my save files loaded up, we'll just I don't know. We'll maybe just start the campaign over. I don't know. I'll figure it out though. What?
What was that?
I don't know. I just heard I think. I think he was trying to say I think we
I think we overleveled. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Move on.
Okay.